Most people think confidence is about charm, loudness, or looking fearless. They're wrong. True confidence, the kind Machiavelli admired, is something far rarer. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't crumble under pressure. It radiates so strongly that others feel it before you speak a single word. In this video, you'll discover the most powerful trait of the truly confident, the one thing that separates rulers from followers, leaders from the weak. Once you understand it, you will never look at confidence the same way again. True confidence is one of the rarest forces in the world. Not the shallow confidence that shouts loudly in crowds, nor the fragile kind that depends on applause, but the kind that stands unmoved even when the world is collapsing. Machiavelli understood that rulers, generals, and statesmen who carried this aura of unshakable presence were feared, respected, and obeyed without ever raising their voices. Their confidence was not an act, it was a weapon. In this video, we uncover the most powerful trait of the truly confident, not as the world defines it, but as Machiavelli revealed it. A trait so potent that it makes you unbreakable in solitude, untouchable in adversity, and unforgettable in the eyes of others. If you want to command respect without asking, inspire loyalty without begging, and walk through life as though no one holds power over you, then listen carefully. Because once you understand this, the way you see confidence will never be the same again. 1. The confidence of self-sufficiency. Machiavelli wrote that fortune always favors those who rely less on chance and more on their own strength. The first and most defining trait of the truly confident is self-sufficiency. This kind of person does not beg for approval, does not crumble when others withdraw, and does not desperately cling to relationships out of fear of being alone. They understand a brutal truth. Everything external is fragile. Wealth can vanish, power can be stripped, allies can betray, even love can abandon you. But the one thing that remains untouchable, the one fortress no enemy can storm, is the mastery of your own mind. The self-sufficient live in such a way that solitude does not feel like emptiness, but like command. Their independence is so complete that they no longer see being alone as a punishment, but as proof of their strength. This is why they radiate an aura that others feel without words, because dependency leaks weakness, while self-sufficiency breathes authority. The insecure man constantly seeks reassurance. He must be told he is valuable, must be reminded he is loved, must be comforted so he can function. But the confident man draws his power inward. He is self-fed, self-driven, and self-assured, so even when the world withdraws from him, he does not collapse. People sense this difference immediately. They know he is not desperate, and therefore he cannot be easily manipulated. Machiavelli would remind us that the ruler who depends too heavily on friends or allies is already doomed, for his throne rests on shaky ground. But the ruler who makes himself the source of his own stability becomes irreplaceable. Others come to depend on him instead. And this is the great paradox. Once you no longer need others, others will begin to need you. That is the essence of Machiavellian self-sufficiency. 2. The quiet weapon of composure. Confidence does not shout, it whispers through stillness. Machiavelli admired rulers who could remain calm while others panicked because their composure gave them an aura that seemed almost superhuman. In moments of chaos, when men lose themselves to anger or fear, the one who remains unshaken instantly appears larger than life. Composure is not passive, it is an act of dominance. When someone insults you and you do not react, you strip their attack of all its power. When someone tries to provoke you and you stand silent, you unsettle them more than any response could. The confident use composure as a weapon, and it makes them untouchable. The insecure are slaves to their impulses. They explode, defend, justify, and react at every provocation. But the confident know that restraint, multiplies power. The less you react, the more people wonder what you're thinking, what you're planning, what you're capable of. Silence forces the other to reveal themselves while you remain unreadable. Machiavelli believed that the leader who controls his face controls the battlefield, because men fear what they cannot predict. Confidence, therefore, is not the ability to dominate by force, it is the ability to dominate by stillness. The storm rages around you, but inside you is silence. That silence is power. 3. The mastery of controlled mystery. Machiavelli understood that men fear what they cannot fully know. The confident grasp this truth instinctively, which is why they master the art of controlled mystery. They reveal just enough to intrigue, but never enough to be completely understood. They speak less than they know, act less than they intend, and conceal far more than they reveal. Mystery creates gravity. People are drawn toward what they do not fully grasp. It forces curiosity, speculation, even obsession. The insecure, by contrast, are desperate to be understood. They overshare their plans, their feelings, their insecurities. In doing so, they strip themselves of power, because when people fully know you, they can predict and control you. The confident never allow this. They keep parts of themselves hidden, not out of fear, but out of design. Machiavelli would advise, let others live in uncertainty about your intentions, and they will approach you with caution. Mystery is not weakness, it is strategy. For the more people wonder about you, the more they revolve around you. And this, in its essence, is power. 4. The strength to walk away. The most confident people demonstrate their power not by what they cling to, but by what they are willing to leave behind. Machiavelli observed that dependence makes a man weak, while detachment makes him free. If you can walk away from wealth, then wealth cannot enslave you. If you can walk away from relationships, then no one can hold you hostage through love or fear of abandonment. If you can walk away from opportunities, then you will never be forced into desperation. This ability is terrifying to others because it signals that you cannot be bought, controlled, or blackmailed. The insecure cling to everything. They beg to be kept, beg to be loved, beg to be chosen. In doing so, they surrender power. But the confident demonstrate strength by releasing. When others see that you can leave without hesitation, they begin to chase you, because human nature is drawn to what seems beyond reach. Machiavelli knew this. The one who can walk away holds the throne in his hands, because he cannot be cornered. This is why true confidence is not attachment, it is freedom. 5. The power of strategic patience. Machiavelli warned that haste is the enemy of wisdom. The confident understand this, which is why they wield patience as a weapon. They do not rush to prove themselves. They do not scramble for recognition, and they do not lunge at every opportunity. Instead, they wait, they watch, and they strike only when the moment is perfect. This waiting is not weakness, it is calculation. Strategic patience makes their victories look inevitable, as if they were destined from the start. The insecure rush. They fear missing out. They fear being forgotten. They fear standing still. But in their rushing, they make mistakes, reveal weaknesses, and waste energy. The confident man knows that time itself is on his side, because while others grow restless, he remains calm. By waiting, he allows rivals to expose themselves, circumstances to unfold, and opportunities to ripen. When he finally moves, it is with such precision that the outcome appears effortless. Machiavelli would call this the power of timing, the ability to let the battlefield arrange itself so that when you strike, victory is already assured. 6. The refusal to beg for respect. Machiavelli despised leaders who pleaded for affection or respect. To him, such weakness was fatal, because respect that is begged for is never truly given. The confident live by a harsher law. Respect is not requested, it is commanded. They do not demand recognition, because their strength and discipline make recognition unavoidable. To beg for respect is to admit you do not deserve it. The confident know this, which is why they simply embody it. The insecure plead to be seen, to be validated, to be praised. But in their begging, they reveal a void that others can exploit. The confident instead focus on results, on strength, on skill, on mastery. When you live with such consistency and presence, others are forced to acknowledge you, even silently. Machiavelli understood that a ruler is feared or respected not because he asked for it, but because he proved himself unshakable. True confidence never negotiates its worth. It simply exists, and the world bows before it. 7. The indifference to approval. Confidence reaches its purest form when you no longer care for applause. Machiavelli knew that rulers who chased popularity became enslaved to the crowd. The confident are indifferent to approval because they draw their direction not from others, but from themselves. They understand that applause fades, criticism rises, but neither changes their path. This indifference is freedom. It allows them to move with purpose, not desperation. The insecure are addicted to approval. They fear rejection. They fear criticism. They crave validation. And in that craving, they surrender their independence. But the confident walk alone if necessary. They do not bend to trends, to opinions, or to praise. This indifference makes them dangerous because they cannot be manipulated by promises of recognition. Machiavelli would remind us, when you no longer need the world's permission, you have already surpassed it. This is the highest form of confidence, living as though the crowd is irrelevant. 8. The discipline of emotional control. Machiavelli taught that a man who cannot master his emotions will always be mastered by them. The confident turn this truth into discipline. They feel anger, but they do not lash out. They feel fear, but they do not tremble. They feel pain, but they do not collapse. Instead, they transform emotions into tools. Anger becomes strategy. Fear becomes preparation. Disappointment becomes resilience. Emotional control is not about suppressing feelings, but about bending them into weapons. The insecure are slaves to their moods. They explode in rage, collapse in despair, panic under pressure. But the confident rule their inner world with iron discipline. This makes them terrifying to face because nothing unsettles them. Machiavelli knew that rulers who could not control themselves would eventually be controlled by others. But those who mastered their emotions became unbreakable. For if you cannot be provoked, you cannot be defeated. 9. The power of selective speech. Machiavelli warned that words, once spoken, can never be taken back. The confident treat their speech like currency, rare, valuable, and impactful. They do not waste words defending themselves, over-explaining, or filling silence. They speak rarely, but when they do, their words cut with precision. Silence itself becomes part of their strategy because it makes people lean in, wondering what they're thinking, waiting for what they might say. The insecure talk endlessly. They chatter to fill the void. They explain to justify themselves. They confess to gain sympathy. But the confident understand that power lies in scarcity. The less you reveal, the more valuable what you reveal becomes. Machiavelli would say, "Let others drown themselves in their words while you conserve yours, and when you finally speak, it will strike like thunder." This is why selective speech is one of the highest weapons of confidence. It makes your silence more frightening than their noise. 10. The untouchable core of self-belief. At the heart of Machiavellian confidence lies the one thing that cannot be stolen: belief in yourself. Armies may abandon you, riches may be seized, reputations may be destroyed, but the man who holds fast to his own worth cannot be broken. The confident build their power on something deeper than possessions or status. They build it on conviction. This is why enemies fear them, why rivals cannot weaken them, why even time itself cannot erase them. The insecure collapse when stripped of validation because their identity was borrowed. The confident rise again from ruins because their identity was forged. This untouchable core of self-belief makes them immortal in influence, even when they lose everything. Machiavelli would call this the ultimate fortress, the one that stands when all else falls. For the man who believes in himself is never truly defeated. This is the essence of Machiavellian confidence. It is not about noise or arrogance, but about mastery of yourself, your emotions, your patience, your independence. It is about walking through the world as though nothing can move you, because nothing within you is unsettled. When you embody this, you do not chase approval, you do not beg for respect, you command it without words. That is the mark of the truly confident and the trait that make them unforgettable.
But here is the final truth. Knowledge without action is nothing. Machiavelli wrote his wisdom for those bold enough to live it. So if you are ready to sharpen your mind, master your presence, and rise above the noise of the insecure, then carry these lessons with you. Build the fortress within and watch how the world begins to bend around you. If this message spoke to you, then join us on this path. Like this video, share it with those who hunger for power, and subscribe so you never miss the wisdom that can change your life. The age of shallow confidence ends here. The age of unshakable power begins with you. Remember, confidence is not given, it is taken. The world bows not to the loudest voice, but to the one who cannot be moved. Become that presence, and everything else will follow.